Welcome back, guys. Books you should be reading this summer. So, recently accumulated some more books that have been on my checklist for a while, and I wanted to share them with you guys. Some of them were inspired to get and purchase, so all good reading. When I talk about books on the channel, there'll be nothing but great arsenals for you in your life and what you want to accomplish. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the books, and I'll share with you guys what I've been reading and what I'll be getting into reading. And I just needed some. I just wanted to get these books for the summer, and depending on what I get out of them too, I wouldn't mind sharing some information about the books in future videos on the channel. So let's dive in. All right, so this is The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. This is a great book, you guys. So years ago, I watched the movie that came out, and it was just called Peaceful Warrior. There's a few big name actors in there, and I highly recommend watching that too. But I'm like already halfway through this book, you guys. I can't put this thing down, and it's funny to me because I wasn't sure what to expect as far as the book goes. Typically, the books are always better than the movies. Uh, so this talks about Dan's life as a college student. So this is the phase in his life where he's in college, and he's got everything going for him. He comes from a very good family, wealthy. He's an athlete, all-star gymnast, and a great competitor for his state. And then something along the lines happens to him where he feels like he's missing something in his life, even though he has everything that he could ever want. He does decent in school. He has plenty of women and friends hanging around him, and he's a great athlete. But there, there's something that happens to him where he feels like he's missing something in his life, and he starts having these nightmares, and they cause him to wake up at midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning. So on one fateful day, or I guess we could say one fateful night, he wakes up, can't sleep, decides to go for a run, walk. He stumbles into this gas station, like the one you see on the cover, and he meets this old man who kind of patronizes him at first and starts kind of speaking some weird, guru-like Masashi type language to him, and all of a sudden he does this stunt where he jumps on top of the gas station, which is like a good, I don't know, 30, 50-foot jump. And it not only shocked Dan, but it inspired him to try and figure this guy out. So in the events, the movie's a little bit more vague, but in the book, the old man doesn't actually give out his name, but Dan starts calling him Socrates, or Sock for short. And so he takes on the name, and then this old man, Socrates, we'll say, is one of the characters. He starts to train Dan in some practices and ways to help him to develop to his highest and fullest potential. Basically, to help him ascend into, a better version of himself. So it's kind of a spiritual journey that Dan goes on. And this book is kind of a summary of his life in this phase when he gets this kind of training and mentoring from Socrates, but at the same time, it's also an allegory. There's more books by Dan in this series, and also workbooks that you can teach yourself and hone these skills on what you want to learn in the ways of becoming a peaceful warrior. So I highly recommend this book, you guys. I don't want to spoil it for you. There's some great lessons in here too, poems and things like that. I'm really enjoying this book so far. So I can't say enough about The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And when you get a chance, watch the movie. I think it came out in like 2006 or 2008. It's an older movie, but it's with the times. And this is also based in the 60s and 70s. So I mean, Dan's pretty old now. He's now a well-accomplished athlete, author. He's a professional speaker. He also trains in the martial arts. He's been a coach for martial artists and things like that. So he does a lot of things. But yeah, there's more in the series too that talks about Dan and also talks about Socrates' life and his journey and who he became as the person that we see in this story. So yeah, anyway, great book. I highly recommend you guys start out reading this book. Check it out for yourselves. This next one is called The Ministry of Healing by Ellen G. White. So she is an author and an American English pioneer. It's a good summary about her life and her books on the back. I was inspired to get this book from Barbra O'Neill. As you know, she is a blowing up on the internet. A lot of her old lectures and talks from like the early 2015, 2017 seminars that she's done for Living Springs Retreat. She talked about this book and how it talked about the 8 laws of health, or the 8 laws of nature, and how to follow those. Now, Ellen G. White also is a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't believe in that religion per se, or that branch of Christianity, but her take on how to live your life and to make it basically a temple for God is very interesting, and they show you the way of how to live and what the scriptures say backing that up. So the one thing that I think Seventh-day Adventists really nailed the head on as far as, being a Christian goes is they show you the way of how to live, and they back it up with scripture and what God is actually talking about versus just believing and praying and knowing the Bible inside and out like normal Christianity does, And they don't really put any action or, practice behind their faith, and I've always believed that God helps those who helps themselves. And I really think that Ellen G. White nails it on the head. I've only read a few pages of this so far, but I was inspired to get this book just because of one of Barbra O'Neill's lectures where she talked about the 8 laws of health, and I want to learn about those and kind of embody those in my lifestyle, and I think you should too. I think this would be a great reference point for you guys. Unless if you just want to learn it from Barbra O'Neill and her lectures and from her books as well, you could probably do that too. Alright, the next one that I bought, just because I'm a curious person, I love learning about history, the Ethiopian Bible. 88 Scriptures, the Missing Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, and the Jubilees. They also give you a QRL code to scan for the Book of the Maccabees. That's included in this, even though it's not included in this. There are some other books that are also missing from the Bible. Book of Jasher, Book of Thomas. One of my friends said I think that there was a total of like 500 other books added on from the original Bible and copy. I've read through most of the Bible and have basically learned the principles about what the Christian faith is all about. I'm not a Christian. I was raised in the church. I have beliefs in Jesus, or at least the right kind, and but I just I don't believe in the Western Church and what they preach. Like the other 2 that I named off, I was hoping to get those in this book, but it did not come with it. But I'm really interested in reading the Book of Enoch. I paged through it when I was younger, growing up, and got curious, just to kind of learn about the history of our world. The book really talks about how angels had basically came down and taught us how to use herbs for healing and how to make weapons for war and those kinds of things, and much more that I don't really know too much about or remember. But I've always been interested in history and learning about where we came from. I still got my general beliefs about where we go, what happens when we die, what eternity's like. But I think also, just for the modern Christian, I think it would be wise for you to also look and take a look at these books and see how they differentiate from the 66 books of the Bible, whereas this one has the 88, and probably the other complete Bibles have more than 88 from what I remember or what I've heard about. So I don't know, you guys. This is an interesting read, though. If you like history like I do, I would totally get this book. And if you're curious about what some of those other books the Bible talked about, definitely get this. Page through it, read the books, understand it, or just read and just see what the history was, what the history's like. And last but not least, this is a very famous book from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Becoming a Supple Leopard by Dr. Kelly Starrett with Glenn Cardoza. This is a second edition text. I got inspired to get this book from, it's been on my wait list on Amazon for a while now, and I really wanted to get this just because it teaches you how to rehab injuries, get your joints aligned, get your spine aligned, to keep you more supple and flexible like a leopard, and to help you improve and strengthen those weak areas without having to go to coaches, doctors, therapists, physical therapists, osteopaths, all that kind of stuff. And I paged through this today a little bit, and it looks pretty interesting, looks pretty fundamental. So I would encourage you guys to get this book if you guys want to take your health and wellness to the next level, and also just to be more flexible, pliable as a person. So the fact of the matter is that if you can't bend, you'll bend until you snap. So you want to be able to stretch, that way you don't bend until you snap. At least that's one of my philosophies that I live by. Like, I always like to stretch, whether I'm after a workout or usually before, but I tend to stretch out when I'm more malleable after a workout, and that helps out a lot. I've used some of Kelly's techniques and such. He's also got a YouTube channel called Ready State. I highly recommend you check it out. I could leave you guys a link if you'd like. And very interesting guy on how he portrays and does his practice. Been able to just really do a lot of his exercises off of his videos, but I wanted to make sure that I could really ingrain it, so I bought his book to kind of get more of an idea of what he's talking about, and to talk about his fundamentals, or to understand his fundamentals and what he's talking about from his videos and his website. Really, my end goal with this is just to kind of help me with my athletic capability, to help me build the proper strength, and to still get flexible, be more flexible as a person as I get older. And I think that this would be something great for you to get as far as just taking your health and wellness to the next level. So highly recommend it, you guys. All right, boys, that'll wrap up the video for today. This is my summer reading that I'm doing, and I highly recommend you guys get the books if you guys just want to have more knowledge, more information for life and how to get better at it. So, all right, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.